Hi, good evening. So there are some questions and we would like to solve them. So let's start from the last chapter, which is your development. Okay. So I'll be taking the last chapter first, then we'll move to the peace chapter and then we'll come to other chapters. Okay. But you don't have the handout. Okay. I thought the message was already there that you'll be having. Koi nahi, I'll dictate, not an issue. Acha, not given handout at all. Okay, I'll ask them to do so. You may also join, write the questions. Okay. So from the development chapter, see this chapter on development basically talks about that there can be different models of development. Okay, and what we generally think about development. For example, the Western notion of development, that if you go on for planning, if you go on to build only big infrastructures, that is development. That is a very narrow conception of development, and that is why generally speaking there is a difference between the term development and growth. When we say growth, it basically means only economic growth, that you are having GDP after GDP after GDP. But is that economic growth also good for the society as a whole or not? When you start looking from that perspective, that is your development. That is why there have been indexes like Human Development Index, which actually tries to measure how much economic growth has actually translated into betterment of the society and individuals as a whole. So this chapter is all about that. So the questions are also based on that. Now, first very question is, who is Ken Saro Viva? You may write this question. Who is Ken Saro Viva? Okay. So see, he was a Nigerian activist. He has written a few books as well, and it is his endeavor that a lot of British company, lot of oil companies, they were polluting certain areas in Nigeria, and because of his activism, those companies were forced to stop their projects. But eventually, he was killed by the military of Nigeria. Got it? तो इसमें लिखिए, देखो, he was he was a Nigerian writer and activist, Nigerian writer and activist who was against military regime of Nigeria, who was against military regime of Nigeria. लिखो, लिखो, he carried out movement for survival of Ogoni people. Movement for survival of Ogoni people. Movement for survival of Ogoni people. And because of his movement, multiple oil companies, especially Royal Dutch Shell Company, Royal Dutch Shell Company was forced to provide compensation and stop stop environmentally damaging projects, environmentally damaging projects, especially in reverse state reverse state in Nigeria, reverse state in Nigeria, where Ogoni tribe used to live. Ogoni tribe used to live. ठीक, इसी में लिखो लिखो he, next point, he is known for writing novels such as, he is known for writing novels such as Songs in a Time of War, Songs in a Time of War. ठीक, so this is your first question. So he was an activist basically, and because he was against the military dictator regime in Nigeria, he was put against bar for some frivolous charges that he was indulged in certain crimes, he was indulged in the murders, and then military regime ensured that he gets a death penalty. Got it? Now, moving on to the second question, what are the challenges of development? Explain the social and environmental costs. So basically this question is expecting you what? That if you go for the present notion of development, it requires massive movement of people. You force people to migrate from their natural habitat and you force them to move somewhere else. Say for example in India, for longest time period there was something like Narmada Bachao Andolan. Now because of that, the native people who belong, their livelihood belonged to that particular place, they were forced to move away from that particular area. So it has a huge social and environmental cost. That is why you will see there is a connected question here, that eventually Supreme Court in various judgments, one prominent judgment being Olga Tellis, Supreme Court has identified right to livelihood as a part of your fundamental right. So Supreme Court in that particular judgment in Mumbai, there were some people who used to sleep on footpaths and all, and they were doing so because their livelihood was connected there. They used to sell things around the footpath, and the municipal corporation was trying to dislocate them, and therefore it was realized, and Supreme Court gave a judgment that no, if you have capacity to rehabilitate them, do that. You can't disconnect their livelihood from the larger right to life. Got it? So similarly, if you see displacement, now generally what is the major cause of this development projects? The tribes, the tribal people, etc., those who are closer to nature, those who are more connected with forests for their livelihood, they are more who end up getting displaced. Now this is the biggest problem in India as well. This is the problem in any developing country, be it your Africa, be it your Latin America, whatsoever country you speak of. Most of the most of the dense forest areas also have lot of mineral resources underneath them, and once you follow the Western model of development, it ends up forcing dislocating lot of people, specifically indigenous people or the tribal people. That is why, I don't know whether you have done it or not, in human rights, when we talk about 3 generations of human rights, the third generation of human rights basically talks about the rights of indigenous people, tribal people, collective rights, environmental rights, because somewhere down the line it was realized that in the name of development, somebody else is taking all the benefits and profits of development, and it is coming at the huge cost of those people who actually deserve development in that particular region. Got it? तो इसमें लिखिए सेकंड में, what are the challenges of development? ठीक, तो लिखिए पॉइंट नंबर 1, लिखिए डेवलपमेंट एज अ कॉन्सेप्ट, development as a concept has been a very narrow concept, has been a very narrow concept. देखो for example Rostov's model of development. Rostov's model of development. See? So Rostov is a thinker, scholar. Okay? He has given that across the world, every country will go through the 5-step process of development, and finally everybody would look similar. So in this definition of development, they are not looking at the local factors. Say for example, if you take example of Bhutan. Now Bhutan has specifically focused on what? Happiness index and all. They don't want the Western notion of model of development. So Rostov model is not able to account for that different countries might go for different models of development, and they want to force that, oh, this is the only model of development. Got it? So what West is doing, it's not necessary that East should also end up emulating blindly what West is doing. That is their point of view. We have unique needs. We have so many people to accommodate. We can't dislocate people in a go in the name of development. Got it? You must have heard about that, how the students of Hyderabad University, Telangana recently, they protested. Okay? So this is the social movement, or this is how people react against this forced model of development. Got it? Look, for example, Rostov's model of development, who gave 5 steps of development. Next point, right? Next point. Look, such models do not take into account such models do not take into account the unique requirements of different societies, which leads to social and environmental costs, which leads to social and environmental costs. लिखो, अंडरलाइन करो social. So लिखो, in countries like India, Bangladesh, etc., the social cost of development has been rising inequalities between different sections of society, leading to social movements, violent clashes, and even communal riots. ठीक, अंडरलाइन करो एनवायरमेंटल कॉस्ट में, अंडरलाइन करो एनवायरमेंटल. ठीक है, लिखो द मोस्ट नेगेटिव आउटकम has been with regard to environment. The most negative outcome has been with regard to environment. ठीक, लिखो, countries across the world have lost pristine forest covers, pristine forest covers. लिखो for example under Bolsonaro, under Bolsonaro in Brazil, under Bolsonaro, he was ex-president of Brazil. ठीक है, अभी ये हटे हैं तो कौन आया है? Lula da Silva. Okay, and he is a better, or you can say he is more leaned towards conserving Amazon forest. But when Bolsonaro was president, he was constantly cutting Amazon forest, so much so that at the world level there was an alarm being raised that world is soon going to lose the lungs of the world. ठीक है, Amazon are known as what? The lungs of the world. And he was constantly cutting Amazon forest for mining, for development projects. Got it? लिखो, under Bolsonaro, Brazil was losing Amazon forests in the name of development. In the name of development. Got it? लिखो, देखो, similarly, even in India, it is mostly tribal belt which holds not only prominent resources, but they are also home to biodiversity. देखो, data shows that it is indigenous people who have lost their livelihood and homes because of forced migration. ठीक है, लिखो, next point, activists recently protested against a project in Telangana in Kancha Gadi, Gachi Bauli area, in Kancha Gauchi Bauli area, which is home to diverse species. यहाँ पे they were planning some eco park or something, and if you see, there will have been many videos that how traumatic this experience was. Got it? So this is your second. What are the challenges of development? Explain. See, अगर जहाँ भी explain आता है ना, you generally have to give examples and all. Got it? Discuss है, explain है, elaborate है. It's always better that you give contemporary examples, that what do you actually understand by it. Got it? Next question. Give some alternative conceptions of development. Give some alternative conceptions of development. क्या हो सकते हैं alternative conceptions of development? When I told you Rostov's model, that is the prominent mode of development. Okay? They basically tell you what? That you keep investing in economy, you start building huge infrastructures and all, and one day your economy will take off and everybody will be known as developed. But what are the alternate models of development? अगर आपको वैसा डेवलपमेंट नहीं करना है, क्या हो सकता है? What is the problem of this Rostov's model? First, it is what? It is generally blind to the unique needs of the people. Secondly, it is very top down approach. ठीक है, मतलब जैसे इंडिया में भी if you see, if we go for 5 year planning that used to happen, कौन बनाता था? Planning commission used to make it, and they used to say to the states that this is what you have to follow. But eventually it was realized that this is not working actually, and that is why we ended up having panchayati raj institutions and all. Why? So that we can take initiatives and inputs from the people itself. So alternate models of development are, first you can talk about local, yeah, decentralized model of development. Second can be democratic participative model of development, where you are actually listening to what people demand from you and then you are giving them development, something of that sort. These are alternate model of development. Tell me, you must have come across this word sustainable development many times. Is it a positive word or negative word? Positive. Okay. फिर से सोचिए. Is it a positive word or negative word? See, it depends upon where you are coming from. See, India and all, we follow the model of sustainable development, but sustainable development in itself is not a very good model of development. Why? Again, you must have come across two words, deep ecology and shallow ecology. किया है आपने इस वाले चैप्टर में? ठीक है, I'll tell you because there is a question on it. ठीक है, what is deep ecology? ऐसे कॉमन सेंस से बताओ. कुछ चीज शैलो है, दैट मीन्स व्हाट? सुपरफ्लुअस, ऊपर ऊपर से. ठीक है, अगर कुछ चीज डीप है, दैट मीन्स व्हाट? दैट यू आर एक्चुअली कंसर्न्ड अबाउट. So what happens is, when you talk about shallow ecology, there you are saying that, see, we can slow down a little bit, but at the end of the day, our ultimate aim is what? Development of individuals. We want humans to achieve as much material capacity as they can, but because we have to look for environment as well, that for time being we may slow down. बस इतना हुआ. तो this is what? This is shallow ecology. Here your main concern is not environment. Your main concern at the end of the day is how to develop yourself, how to materially develop yourself. आप कितनी जल्दी से जल्दी मानव विकास करते हो. That is what? This is why the concept of sustainable development comes under shallow ecology. क्योंकि एंड में आपने क्या बोला? Okay, we will develop, but we will also ensure that somewhere down the line we take care of nature as well. But nature is not your major concern here. Your main concern is individual development only. इसीलिए बोला गया that, see, this shallow ecology is not helping at all. Today, see, most of the agreements with regard to environment, they are failing, and the global warming is happening. The alternate model of development again is based in your deep ecology, that you start caring for nature for the nature's sake, not for your own development. आप नेचर की केयर करोगे, नेचर अपने आप आपकी केयर करोगे. गॉट इट? तो इसमें लिखो. अब देखो ऐसा क्वेश्चन आया ना, गिव ऑल्टरनेटिव कंसेप्शंस ऑफ डेवलपमेंट. तो फर्स्ट यू हैव टू टेल द कॉन्टेक्स्ट व्हाई वी आर लुकिंग फॉर ऑल्टरनेटिव मॉडल ऑफ डेवलपमेंट. क्यों? बिकॉज द डोमिनेंट नोशन ऑफ डेवलपमेंट इज व्हाट? द वेस्टर्न नोशन, जहां पे आपने बोल दिया सबको केवल एंड केवल यू हैव टू अचीव द मटेरियल कैपेसिटी टू द फुलेस्ट. तो इनकी प्रॉब्लम क्या है? दे आर टॉप डाउन अप्रोच. नोबडी इज आस्किंग यू वेदर यू वांट दैट काइंड ऑफ डेवलपमेंट और नॉट. गॉट इट? तो लिखो, लिखो द डोमिनेंट नोशन ऑफ डेवलपमेंट, the dominant notion of development which basically promotes the material development to the fullest. The material development to the fullest has its own problems, such as Point number 1, it does not take into account the unique requirements of different societies. The unique requirements of different societies. Point number 2, देखो, this approach is also top down approach. You understand top down? मतलब जैसे घर में होता है, पापा ने बोल दिया आज खाने में यही बनना है, आपसे पूछा नहीं, टॉप वाले ने बोल दिया, आपको मानना पड़ेगा. ऐसे ही प्लानिंग कमीशन ने डिसाइड कर दिया यही होना है. दे हैव नेवर आस्क्ड यू वेदर यू वांट दैट डेवलपमेंट और नॉट. क्या आपसे पूछा गांव वालों से कि यहाँ पे हम तालाब को हटा करके एक रोड बना रहे हैं? नाउ हो सकता है लॉट ऑफ पीपल आर कनेक्टेड टू दैट पर्टिकुलर पॉन्ड, देयर लाइवलीहुड इज रिलेटेड टू दैट, दे फील एस्थेटिक अबाउट इट, दे फील पीसफुल अराउंड तालाब, बट आपने उसको पार्ट करके रोड बना दी. क्यों? ऊपर से ऑर्डर आया है. तो दैट इज टॉप डाउन अप्रोच ऑफ डेवलपमेंट. गॉट इट? तो लिखो, द अप्रोच हैज बीन मेजरली टॉप डाउन, not taking into account the local requirements and demands. ठीक? देखो, for example, in 1970s, trees were being felled without taking consent from people. Therefore, the women of local village started चिपको आंदोलन. Got it? वो they started hugging trees and all because आपने तो पूछा नहीं, you just said okay we will cut down the trees because we want development or something of that sort. ठीक है? देखो next point. देखो, therefore it has been suggested that we go for alternate models of development. पहला लिखो, the rights claim model of development. ठीक? इसमें आप क्या करते हो राइट्स क्लेम वाले मॉडल में? दैट यू एंश्योर कि जिनका आप रिसोर्स ले रहे हो, यू कॉम्पनसेट देम, यू एंश्योर दैट देयर राइट्स आर नॉट ब्रीच्ड. ठीक है? तो जैसे कि मान लो इफ यू वांट टू स्टार्ट अ प्लांट इन सम एरिया, गॉट इट, वहां पे बॉक्साइट है स्केल. नाउ two methods are possible. Either you bring outsiders with lots of machines and all, and वो कंपनी सारा प्रॉफिट ले गई and the local population did not get anything except pollution. दूसरा मॉडल क्या है? You don't follow this heavy industry model. You give employment to the people over there. You give a stake to those people, and since those people are emotionally and everything, they are connected to that particular region, they will not only ensure that pollution does not get that environment does not get polluted, they will also ensure that there is no over exploitation of the resources. तो आपने उनको rights दे दिए कि भाई यहाँ से इतनी mining होगी, then you will also end up getting something out of it. You will have a stake into it. इसको हम और क्या बोल सकते हैं राइट्स क्लेम मॉडल को? स्टेक होल्डर मॉडल. दैट यू आर टेकिंग केयर ऑफ the local population there, you are making them a stakeholder in your model of development. Got it? तो इसमें लिखो डैश करके, देखो ensuring the local population and their rights are not breached, and their rights are not breached. ठीक, देखो it can also be known as stakeholder model. Stakeholder model. Okay. This is your first model. Take right second model. Democratic decentralization model. Democratic decentralization model. देखो for example, in India, gram sabhas are empowered to give green signal to projects which affect the people living in a gram sabha, the people living in the concerned gram sabha area, people living in the concerned gram sabha area. Right, next model. देखो another model can be deep ecology model. Deep ecology model. ठीक, अंडरलाइन करो deep ecology. देखो it means putting environment at the center. Putting environment at the center and not focusing on development as the main concern. Not focusing on development as the main concern. ठीक, अभी हम फिर से आएंगे इस कॉन्सेप्ट पे, बिकॉज देयर इज वन क्वेश्चन ऑन शैलो इकोलॉजी एंड दिस कॉन्सेप्ट वाज बेसिकली गिवन बाय अर्ननेस. ठीक है, लिखा देंगे हम अभी अर्ननेस. So he has coined these terms deep ecology and shallow ecology. Earnings. एक बार लिख लीजिए, we'll come back to it. Okay. Now, next question. What is the relationship between right to livelihood and claims of development? What is the relationship between right to livelihood and claims of development? ठीक, so देखो, they have, you can say, very political connection with each other. Why? हो सकता है that if somebody else is claiming कि मुझे develop होना है, then there are chances that it might end up harming the right to livelihood of somebody else. For example, if we are displacing some people in the name of development, say for example, मान लो यहाँ पे कोई एक development project आ रहा है और आप बोलो कि यहाँ पे जो street vendors who have been working here like since 30 years, they will be displaced. तो किसी का development और किसी की livelihood चली गई. Got it? So their connection is not very straightforward, but we must understand that development becomes sustainable or development becomes organic only when it ensures right to livelihood for everyone. क्यों? अगर आपका डेवलपमेंट इज नॉट एबल टू इंश्योर राइट टू लाइवलीहुड फॉर द मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल इन द गिवन रीजन, देन इट विल लीड टू व्हाट? इट विल लीड टू मोर एंड मोर इनइक्वालिटीज. ठीक है, कैसे पता चलता है इनइक्वालिटीज का? सो वी हैव वन कॉन्सेप्ट इन इकोनॉमिक्स नोन एज लॉरेंस कर्व, जिनी कोफिशिएंट एंड ऑल. वो क्या बताता है कि इफ यू सी perfect line of equality should be like this. अगर किसी सोसाइटी में डेवलपमेंट सबको लाइवलीहुड दे रहा है, then more and more people should be on this line. That means it's a perfect line of equality and your Gini coefficient is 0 here. Got it? But what happens is that in the name of development, the model that we choose, more and more people lose their right to livelihood, and because of that the society becomes more unequal. तो आपका लॉरेंस कर्व जनरली यूं चला जाता है. ठीक है, एंड दिस इज शोइंग व्हाट? द इंटेंसिटी ऑफ इनइक्वालिटी परसिस्टिंग इन अ सोसाइटी. और आपका जीनी कोफिशिएंट जो है बढ़ता चलेगा. गॉट इट? सो दैट इज व्हाई देयर इज some connection between development and right to livelihood, and development should be such that it should ensure right to livelihood for everyone. And if development is letting more people to lose right to livelihood, then that is not an organic development. Got it? लिखिए इसमें. देखो देखो, livelihood and development has a proportionate relationship. Has a proportionate relationship. लिखो but a lot of times if the development is skewed, SKEWD, मतलब किसी एक को ज्यादा फेवर किया, बाकियों को डिसफेवर किया. गॉट इट? सो इफ द डेवलपमेंट इज स्क्यूड, comma, it leads to more and more people losing their right to livelihood. ठीक, देखो, such a scenario can be understood with the help of Lorentz curve, which tells about the levels of inequality in a given society. Right, next one. देखो, it must be noted that the Honorable Supreme Court of India drew an organic relationship between right to livelihood and development. In its famous Olga Tallis judgment. ठीक, because through this Supreme Court expanded the scope of right to life. ठीक है, आर्टिकल 21. ठीक, Now next question, what is the relationship between democracy and development? Why this question? ये तो कोई भी बता देगा कि हम डेमोक्रेटिक हैं, तो डेमोक्रेसी ऑब्वियसली लीड्स टू डेवलपमेंट, बट व्हाई दिस क्वेश्चन? ऐसा क्वेश्चन उठा ही क्यों? See, because what happened was that lot of countries, they started putting question mark that some countries are not developed because they are democracy. Why? Because democracy means what? Taking decisions in a slower manner. You will take consent of everyone. हर चीज से पूछोगे तभी जाकर के कुछ पॉलिसी पास होगी. So that is why it was believed that sometimes democracy may lead to slow process of development. एंड उस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में डिबेट उठी कि डेवलपमेंट के लिए डेमोक्रेसी अच्छी है कि सम अदर रेजिम्स, ऑथोरिटेरियन रेजिम्स, जहां पे आप लोगों को इतनी फ्रीडम नहीं दी आपने. गॉट इट? बट देयर इज वन स्कॉलर, अमर्त्य सेन, आपने सुन लिया होगा उनका नाम कई बार. तो ही सेड नो, ही सेड यू कांट ब्लेम द स्लो प्रोसेस ऑफ डेवलपमेंट ऑन डेमोक्रेसी. ठीक है? इनफैक्ट डेमोक्रेसी इज गुड फॉर डेवलपमेंट. हमारी दूसरी कमियां हैं जिनके कारण वी माइट नॉट बी डेवलपिंग, बट यू कांट ब्लेम डेमोक्रेसी फॉर दैट. एंड ही गिव्स एग्जांपल ऑफ बंगाल फेमीन्स. ठीक है? जब अंग्रेज थे यहाँ पे 1940s के अराउंड, देयर वाज अ ह्यूज बंगाल फेमीन व्हिच हैपेंड. अब मान लो इंडिया डेमोक्रेसी होता तो देयर वुड हैव बीन लॉट ऑफ पॉलिटिकल प्रेशर ऑन रिप्रेजेंटेटिव. चुनाव में भी तो जाना है 5 साल बाद, तो शायद फेमीन नहीं होता. But were British accountable to anyone? Not exactly. तो famine होता गया and lot of people died out of it. Similarly, if you see China, China में when Mao Zedong was in power, तो he started lot of cultural revolutions and all. ठीक है? उसमें millions में Chinese मारे गए. Was China democracy? Not exactly. Had China been democracy, people would have revolted against it. Mao Zedong might have lost elections and all. तो अमर्त्य सेन कह रहे हैं कि डेमोक्रेसी एंड डेवलपमेंट आर पॉजिटिवली रिलेटेड. इफ in a certain democratic country development is not happening, that is not happening because of democracy, that is not happening because of something else. Maybe there is a lot of corruption, maybe political leaders are not that good, maybe the politics is not good, you are not focusing on the issues which are of more importance, आपका ध्यान इधर उधर है, something of that sort. Got it? तो इसका context लिखिए इस question, like this question, what is the relationship between democracy and development? ठीक, लिखिए. लिखिए, this question emerged because some scholars started questioning whether democracy leads to slow development and poverty. Because for them, democracy means slow decision making. ठीक, स्लो डिसीजन मेकिंग. ठीक है? लिखो नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, लिखो therefore scholars and economists like Amartya Sen have put a question on this question, देखो, according to Amartya Sen, democracy is democracy is good for development because democracy ensures democracy ensures that development is for all. देखो, he gives example of, next point, he gives example of Bengal famine. Bengal famine. ठीक, लिखो, it happened because British were not accountable to any Indian. British were not accountable to Indians. देखो, on the other hand, in post-independent India, famines have been unheard of. Famines have been unheard of. सुने ही नहीं हमने. Because democracy automatically brings accountability. Right, next point. देखो, if any democracy is not developing, it is not because of democracy, but because of corruption, political culture, and politicians not focusing on real issues. Got it? तो हमेशा डेमोक्रेसी स्लो कर रही है डेवलपमेंट को. दैट इज नॉट द प्रॉब्लम ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी. इन फैक्ट डेमोक्रेसी इज good for development because everything is in open. It ensures that nobody is able to concentrate all the fruits of development. Got it? Now, next question. What is the role of ECOSOC? ठीक है? What is ECOSOC? UN की organs होती हैं, 6 organs हैं, like International Court of Justice, ठीक है, ये सब. तो उसमें से ECOSOC is one of those organs. And इसका full form क्या है? Economic and Social Council. Got it? अब as the name suggests, इसके what is the core work of ECOSOC? Economic and Social Council है. You know UN does lot of economic and social work across the world. Now, what happens is UN has many entities, many bodies, many organs जो कि similar काम करते रहते हैं. Say for example, some UN entities are engaged in environmental work. Somebody might be engaged in relief work. Somebody might be engaged in AIDS work and all. तो अब इतनी सारी एजेंसीज हैं, कल को कंफ्यूजन होगी. So ECOSOC acts more like a coordinating mechanism which ensures the different kinds of work which are being done by various United Nations agencies in the field of economic and social welfare, they get organized at one place. फिर as the name suggests ECOSOC, आप बताओ वर्ल्ड वाइड NGOs करते हैं काम ये सब. अब सारे NGOs तो जाकर के UN में अपने आप को बातचीत नहीं करेंगे. तो only those NGOs which get a status of designated NGOs वो जाकर के UN से कोऑर्डिनेट करती हैं. तो वो designated NGOs का टैग कौन देगा? ECOSOC देगा. तो ECOSOC is more like you can say combining mechanism of different kinds of works, funds, etc. through which UN does all of its welfare, socio-economic welfare measures across the world. Got it? इसमें कितने members होते हैं ECOSOC में? 54 members. ठीक है? जब ये ओरिजिनली बनाया गया था इसमें 18 members थे, but after 2 amendments their membership has been increased to 54. ये यूएन के किस आर्टिकल से आता है? यूएन चार्टर के आर्टिकल 61 से, वहां इसकी मेंबरशिप सबके बारे में दिया हुआ है. गॉट इट? तो लिखो व्हाट इज द रोल ऑफ इकोसॉक. व्हाट इज द रोल ऑफ इकोसॉक? तो इसमें से लिखो पॉइंट नंबर 1. देखो आर्टिकल 61 of UN Charter, ठीक, डैश करके लिखो. इकोनॉमिक एंड सोशल काउंसिल consists of 54 members of United Nations. 54 members of United Nations elected by General Assembly. ठीक. Right, next point. देखो originally it had 18 members. But after two amendments, membership stands at 54. ठीक. Right, next. लिखो ECOSOC is one of the 6 principal organs. आपका होमवर्क है बाकी की 5 ढूंढ करना. ठीक है? 6 principal organs of UN and is responsible for coordinating economic, social and related works, which also includes promoting sustainable development. Right, next. Because some of the key functions of ECOSOC are point number 1. देखो it coordinates the work of different agencies, entities and commissions related to UN working on the issues of economy, environment, society, etc. ठीक. तो बहुत सारी यूएन की एजेंसीज हैं, जैसे मैंने आपको बताया कमीशन एंड ऑल. So there are commissions like Commission on Population and Development, Commission for Social Development, Commission on Narcotic Drugs. Then there is Economic Commission for Africa, देयर इज इकोनॉमिक एंड सोशल कमीशन फॉर एशिया एंड द पैसिफिक। तो ये सब तो अपने अपने फील्ड में काम कर रही हैं, लेकिन जब यूएन में आओगे यू नीड सम काइंड ऑफ कोऑर्डिनेटिंग मैकेनिज्म, नहीं तो ये सब तो बिखरा बिखरा रहेगा। तो इकोसॉक ट्राइज टू कंबाइन द वर्क ऑफ ऑल दीज रीजनल कमीशंस, एंटिटीज, स्पेशलाइज्ड एजेंसीज अंडर वन अम्ब्रेला विद इन यूएन सो दैट देयर इज नो कंफ्यूजन। ऑल्सो यू टेक अ ओवरऑल व्यू कि भाई हमारे प्रोजेक्ट्स जा कहां रहे हैं, इसका आउटकम क्या निकल रहा है, समथिंग ऑफ दैट सॉर्ट। गॉट इट राइट? नेक्स्ट पॉइंट देखो, देखो इकोसॉक acts as a central platform. Ecosoc acts as a central platform for discussing international economic, social and other issues so that policy formulation can be done. So that policy formulation can be done. Next लिखो, next point लिखो, ecosoc plays an important role in advancing sustainable development. Next लिखो, ecosoc is responsible for the follow up of major UN conferences and summits. Right, next लिखो, ecosoc grants consultative status to NGOs so that they can participate in UN. So these are some of the functions of ecosoc. As the name suggests, economic and social council. Now next is, what is the role of UNDP? ठीक है, UNDP का फुल फॉर्म क्या है? यूनाइटेड नेशंस डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम। आपने सुना होगा ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट इंडेक्स कौन लाता है? यूएनडीपी लाता है। किसने दिया था आइडिया ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट इंडेक्स का पहली बार? किस है? सही बोल रहे हैं आप, महबूब हुल्लक। ठीक है, वो कौन थे? पाकिस्तान के इकोनॉमिस्ट थे। ठीक है, एंड उनके आइडिया पे बेस्ड देन फिर यूएनडीपी जो है हर साल it comes out with a ranking known as human development index, and basically they look about what? They look about your life expectancy, they look into the literacy and all, they look into economic development and all, kitni salary aapki PPP basis pe and all, and then you give you the ranking. So UNDP is a very prominent, you can say, UN entity which looks into the issues of development across the world. ठीक है, तो इसमें लिखो UNDP. Point number 1, formed in 1965. हेडक्वार्टर्स कहां है इसका? देखो, हेडक्वार्टर्स न्यूयॉर्क यूएसए। ठीक है, नेक्स्ट देखो, देखो, it is concerned with development and poverty reduction. Development and poverty reduction. नेक्स्ट देखो, देखो यूएनडीपी is an outcome of merging United Nations expanded program of technical assistance, ब्रैकेट में लिखो 1949। सो क्या हुआ, यूएन की दो एजेंसीज हुआ करती थी या दो एंटिटीज हुआ करती थी, एक थी यूनाइटेड नेशंस एक्सपेंडेड प्रोग्राम ऑफ टेक्निकल असिस्टेंस, अदर वाज यूनाइटेड नेशंस स्पेशल फंड, ये 1958 में आया था। अब दोनों के काम लगभग सिमिलर थे, तो इन दोनों को कंबाइन करके यूएनडीपी बना दिया गया आपका 1965 में, ठीक है। तो मर्जर ऑफ, पहला लिखा एंड यूनाइटेड नेशंस स्पेशल फंड, यूनाइटेड नेशंस स्पेशल फंड, ब्रैकेट में लिखो 1958। ठीक, नेक्स्ट पॉइंट लिखो, लिखो यूएनडीपी is a leading agency of UN on international development, and it works in 170 countries, 170 ठीक, नेक्स्ट देखो, देखो यूएनडीपी focuses on 6 core development areas, पहला लिखो poverty and inequality, right? Second, governance, right? Third, resilience, right? Fourth, environment, right? Fifth, energy, right? Sixth, gender equality. So basically they help countries in developing skills, in developing solutions in these areas. Got it? Now next question, what is lifestyle for environment initiative? Who started it? इसको ऐसे लिखते हैं, लाइफ, ठीक है, लाइफस्टाइल फॉर एनवायरनमेंट। तो ये आइडिया था प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी का, ठीक है। तो जो वर्ल्ड में एनवायरमेंटल नेगोशिएशंस होते हैं, तो उसी में प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी गए थे COP 22 में, ग्लासगो में। देयर ही गेव दिस आइडिया दैट गोइंग फॉरवर्ड, if we have to ensure that people become closer to environment or climate change does not affect lifestyle of people, then people will have to change their lifestyle. They will have to go closer to environment. We should move away from this consumerist culture. We should start adopting what nature has to say to us. इसको इन्होंने नाम दिया people centric approach, जहां पे people और environment को close ला करके we are trying to live a life which is suited for environment, which takes inspiration from the environment. इसी को बोला गया लाइफस्टाइल फॉर एनवायरनमेंट। यही उनका आइडिया ऑफ सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट है, जिसमें सबका साथ सबका विकास है नॉन, एंड फॉर दैट यू विल हैव टू स्टार्ट चेंजिंग योर ओन लाइफस्टाइल, यही वो कह रहे हैं, ठीक है। तो लिखो लाइफस्टाइल फॉर एनवायरनमेंट, लिखो द आइडिया ऑफ लाइफ was introduced by Prime Minister Modi during COP26, Conference of Parties 26, COP26 in Glasgow, in 2021, in Glasgow in 2021. ठीक, लिखो नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, लिखो this idea promotes an environmentally conscious lifestyle which is against mindless and wasteful consumption, which is against mindless and wasteful consumption. Right, next point. लिखो the idea is to move away from use and dispose economy to circular economy. You understand what is circular economy? आप हर चीज का यूज करो, तो अपने घरों में नहीं होता था पहले, शर्ट फट गई तो पोछा बना लिया, पोछा फट गया तो कुछ और बना लिया, बड़े भाई के कपड़े छोटे भाई ने पहन लिए, ये क्या था? दिस वाज काइंड ऑफ सर्कुलर इकोनॉमी. आज भी जैसे आप देखते हो, अभी काफी जेनजी में एक नया ट्रेंड है कि वो अपना पानी का मग वग साथ में लेकर चलते हैं आजकल. व्हाई? बिकॉज स्ट्रॉ कल्चर एंड ऑल, यूज एंड डिस्पोज, सबको प्लास्टिक में, तो दैट इज नॉट सस्टेनेबल इन अ लॉन्गर रन. सो व्हाई डू यू नीड एवरी टाइम अ डिस्पोजेबल टू ड्रिंक वाटर? आप अपना ग्लास लेकर के चलो, बैग में अपने, कहीं भी जाओ मग में पानी पियो. Got it? So idea of life is to move away from this use and dispose economic culture to the circular economy culture. Got it? Right, next. Because life promotes P3 pro planet people. ठीक, लिखो the idea is to develop a P3 community across the world, which will promote environment friendly lifestyle across the world. ठीक, ये आपका हो गया लाइफ. ठीक, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, व्हाट इज इको फेमिनिज्म? ये किया था क्या? ये हुआ क्लास में? नहीं हुआ था. यू अंडरस्टैंड फेमिनिज्म? फेमिनिज्म क्या बोलता है? दैट whatever the situation of women is, ठीक है, अगर आप डेटा देखोगे, that is because of one structural thing known as patriarchy. ठीक है, patriarchy क्या होती है? That it is how men control the world. They make institutions in such a manner that women remain on the backside. Got it? अब ecofeminism क्या कह रहा है कि if you see that just like in the society, in the human world, men creates problems for women. Similarly, today environment is suffering because it is men who have given the model of development which ensured that एनवायरमेंट टेक्स अ बैक सीट, ठीक है। तो जिस प्रकार महिलाओं का शोषण इज लिंक्ड टू मेन, सिमिलरली द एक्सप्लॉइटेशन ऑफ एनवायरमेंट इज आल्सो लिंक्ड टू द पॉलिसीज विच इज जनरली मेड बाय मेन। गॉट इट? तो दोनों की प्रॉब्लम की जड़ क्या है? मेन, पेट्रियार्की। So ecofeminism actually challenges this, and it says that if you have to conserve environment, if you have to ensure that environment sustains, you will have to give more importance to women. क्यों? अगर आप women का natural tendencies देखो, it is more about nurturing, caring, loving, तो वो सिर्फ women कर सकती है। तो it's better that in order to save environment, you give leadership roles to women, and it is women who actually suffers more if environment suffers. क्यों? क्योंकि women are closely related to environment। चाहे आप कहीं भी थर्ड वर्ल्ड कंट्रीज या डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज में देखो, पानी भरने जाना है, women जा रही हैं, ठीक है। खेत से कुछ तोड़ के लाना है, खाना बनाना है, women बना रही हैं। So the more and more we are harming environment, more and more we are harming women। तो इकोफेमिनिज्म जो है उस मॉडल ऑफ डेवलपमेंट को, उस लिंक को अंडरस्टैंड करता है, एंड इट वांट्स टू चेंज दैट पर्टिकुलर पैटर्न, दैट इज इकोफेमिनिज्म। तो इंडिया में इज मोस्ट फेमस इकोफेमिनिस्ट वंदना शिवा, आपने सुना होगा इनके बारे में। एक ऐसे बड़ी सी बिंदी लगा के आती हैं, शी इज वेरी फेमस ऑन इंस्टाग्राम दीज डेज। तो शी हैज क्रिटिसाइज्ड द लाइक्स ऑफ बिल गेट्स एंड ऑल, कि जो अभी जैसे बिल गेट्स जो हैं इतनी फिलैंथ्रोपी करते हैं, जगह जगह जा करके नहीं पैसा बांट रहे हैं कि, तो शी क्वेश्चंस एवरीथिंग एंड शी क्वेश्चंस द लार्जर मोटिव बिहाइंड इट, ठीक है। अब जैसे इंडिया में बीटी कॉटन और ये सब की डिबेट है, तो शी हैज ऑलवेज पुट क्वेश्चन मार्क ऑन दीज मॉडल्स ऑफ डेवलपमेंट, बिकॉज दीज मेथड्स ऑफ डेवलपमेंट आर वेरी कैश हैवी, ठीक है। ये सब कैश क्रॉप आप फोर्स कर रहे हो लोगों को उगाने के लिए। व्हाट इफ क्रॉप फेल्स, ठीक है। तो आप देखते हो जैसे महाराष्ट्र का देयर इज वन रीजन नोन एज विदर्भ रीजन, दैट इज अ रेन शैडो एरिया, पानी होता नहीं। वहां आप जाओगे, मैक्सिमम फार्मर्स ने सुसाइड किया है। क्यों किया है? बिकॉज दे गॉट अट्रैक्टेड टूवर्ड्स दिस कैश क्रॉपिंग एंड ऑल, फसल बर्बाद हुई। अब वो तो सुसाइड करके चले गए, किनको प्रॉब्लम हो रही है आज की डेट? विमेन रह गई पीछे। दे हैव टू नॉट ओनली टेक केयर ऑफ देयर डेट, they have to take care of their children, they have to take care of the land, agriculture, everything. So ecofeminism basically is challenging this model of development which is majorly made by men, ठीक है। and they are, since they are not close to nature, they don't understand the problems of nature। got it? तो इसमें लिखिए what is ecofeminism, ठीक। तो लिखो the term ecofeminism was coined by the French feminist Francois de Bon. Francois de Bon. Francois de Bon in 1974। in 1974, ठीक। देखो नेक्स्ट, देखो इकोफेमिनिज्म draws a parallel between the bad situation of women with the poor environment because of the patriarchy, ठीक। अंडरलाइन करो patriarchy। देखो according to ecofeminism, it is men who make the policies which end up subordinating the women, and also harming the environment, and also harming the environment. देखो next point, देखो hence ecofeminism as a concept, challenges the dominant mode of development, which is generally western and masculinist, and masculinist Okay? Right, next point, देखो ecofeminists believe that naturally women are closer to nature. Because women are known for love, care, etc. Therefore, in order to change the mode of development, women should be given the central role. ठीक? Right, next, because some of the prominent ecofeminist thinkers are Vandana Shiva, Maria Mais, etc. ठीक, देखो इन इंडिया सुंदर पालीवाल from Rajasthan is known as father of ecofeminism. ठीक, ये आपका हो गया ecofeminism. Next is, what is deep ecology? Got it? So as I told you, this concept is coming from, who gave it? Nace. Why is he giving? He is differentiating between two kinds of environmentalism. One is deep ecology, other is shallow ecology. Shallow ecology क्या होती है? आप हर चीज you see from the lens of humans. तो आप क्या बोलोगे कि pollution हो रहा है, technology will solve this. You are not concerned about environment. You are only concerned about the development issues of humans. वहीं deep ecology बोलेगी नहीं, care for environment. Once you care for environment will automatically take care of humans. ठीक है, process ही उल्टा हो गया. Got it? तो लिखो, what is deep ecology? तो लिखो the concepts of shallow and deep ecology. The concepts of shallow and deep ecology were given by Norwegian philosopher, Norwegian philosopher Ernest in 1970s, in 1970s, ठीक, तो लिखो पॉइंट नंबर 1, लिखो he criticizes shallow ecology, ठीक, लिखो why लिखो because it is anthropocentric, 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 ठीक है, अंडरलाइन करो एंथ्रोपोसेंट्रिक, देखो इट मींस focusing on environmental issues, focusing on environmental issues from the perspective of humans, from the perspective of humans, ठीक, लिखो they promote technological solutions, and delayed economic development, to mitigate environmental problems, ठीक, लिखो नेक्स्ट पॉइंट, लिखो therefore NICE promotes deep ecology, NICE promotes deep ecology, तो डीप इकोलॉजी क्या बोलेगी, नेचर में जितना सब कुछ है सबकी अपनी इंडिविजुअल स्टैंडिंग है, आप ह्यूमंस के लिए नेचर को सेक्रीफाइस नहीं कर सकते, ह्यूमंस आर नॉट सुपीरियर टू अदर ऑर्गेनिजम्स एंड स्पीशीज इन द नेचर, सबको आपको इक्वल इंपॉर्टेंस देनी है, ठीक है, यू शुड लव नेचर फॉर इट्स ओन सेक, नॉट बिकॉज यू वांट टू गो फॉर सम डेवलपमेंट फॉर ह्यूमंस, गॉट इट, तो लिखो डीप इकोलॉजी, अंडरलाइन करो डीप इकोलॉजी, लिखो इट एम्फेसाइजेस on the inherent value of environment. It emphasizes on the inherent value of environment. ठीक है, लिखो for them every living things in the nature, every living things in the nature are interconnected, therefore we cannot treat human beings as superior, compared to other living beings, next लिखो rather than anthropocentric perspective, comma, deep ecology promotes biocentric perspective, क्या हुआ बायोसेंट्रिक पर्सपेक्टिव, कि बायोस्फीयर में जितने ऑर्गेनिजम्स हैं आपको सबके इंटरेस्ट को देखना है, ना केवल ह्यूमन इंटरेस्ट। ठीक है, अंडरलाइन करो बायोसेंट्रिक पर्सपेक्टिव। देखो इट मींस ensuring well-being of entire biosphere and not just humans. And not just humans. ठीक, so this is your deep ecology given by Unsnakes. ठीक है, लास्ट देखो, व्हाट इज प्राइम मिनिस्टर नरेंद्र मोदीज आइडिया ऑफ सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट? क्या है प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी का आइडिया? वही लाइफस्टाइल वाला ही है, एंड ही एक्चुअली लुक्स एट सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट एज समथिंग, स्पेशली इंडियन पर्सपेक्टिव से, कि अगर इंडियंस जो कि 1/6 ऑफ वर्ल्ड पॉपुलेशन है, अगर इनका सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट होगा, सो दैट विल क्रिएट अ पॉजिटिव एक्सटर्नैलिटी फॉर द वर्ल्ड एज वेल। क्योंकि अगर हम लोग पुअर हैं, हम लोग सस्टेनेबली डेवलप नहीं कर रहे हैं, तो आप समझ लो कि वर्ल्ड की ऑलमोस्ट 1/6 ह्यूमैनिटी जो है वो पुअर रह रही है, एंड दिस इज नॉट गुड फॉर द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ वर्ल्ड एज अ होल। तो ही ट्रूली बिलीव्स इन the interconnection between the development of Indians, sustainable development of Indians, and how it is interlinked with sustainable development of the world. ठीक है, तो अगर इंडिया का डेवलपमेंट होगा तो ऑटोमेटिकली वर्ल्ड का डेवलपमेंट होगा। गॉट इट? तो लिखो, लिख लो, देखो प्राइम मिनिस्टर नरेंद्र मोदी looks at a close connection between the development of Indians with the development of the world. ठीक, देखो, if 1/6 humanity of the world develops sustainably, then it automatically helps the world. In sustainable development. देखो, that is why his government has given the slogan सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका प्रयास। ठीक, देखो, प्राइम मिनिस्टर मोदी has also given the idea of life, which is lifestyle for environment, ठीक, तो आई थिंक योर चैप्टर ऑन डेवलपमेंट इज डन। ठीक, लेट्स मूव टू नेक्स्ट चैप्टर, देखते हैं जितना होता है, विच इज ऑन पीस। ओके, एक काम करता हूं अभी, लेट मी ब्रॉडली डिस्कस इट, जितना होता है लिखते हैं, तो देखते हैं, मेरे को एक बार डिस्कस करने दे दो। पहला बताओ, नेम द जर्मन फिलोसोफर हु ग्लोरीफाइड वॉर। वॉर को किसने ग्लोरीफाई किया है? नीशे। ठीक है, ही हैज गिवन द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ सुपरमैन। ठीक है, कि अगर आपको वर्ल्ड को नया आइडिया देना है, अगर वर्ल्ड को कहीं पहुंचाना है, तो यू नीड सुपरमैन। हु आर सुपरमैन? सुपरमैन आर दोज हु हैव मास्टर मेंटालिटी। ठीक है, होता है ना लीडरशिप, एक होता है स्लेव मेंटालिटी जो सबका फॉलो करते हैं, एक होता है जो लीड करते हैं, दोज हु हैव न्यू आइडिया। गॉट इट? सो ही इज द वन हु हैज सेड दैट वॉर इज गुड। ठीक है, तो नीजे जो है वो बहुत स्कॉलर्स को आगे जाकर तक इंस्पायर करता रहेगा। ठीक है, इसको लिख ही लेते हैं, लिखो जितना होता है, देन विल मीट इन सम नेक्स्ट क्लास आल्सो। मेरा स्पेशल अपीयरेंस होता है, लिखो लिखो, द 19th सेंचुरी जर्मन फिलोसोफर फ्रेडरिक नीजे, FRIEDRCH, FRIDRCH, Nietzsche, NIETZSCHE, Frederick Nietzsche has glorified war and violence, has glorified war and violence. Because for him, they are important for the development of civilization and emergence of Superman, emergence of Superman। ठीक, अंडरलाइन करो सुपरमैन। किस बुक में आइडिया दिया इन्होंने? इनको पढ़ना चाहिए आप लोग, वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग। दस स्पोक ज़ुरुथास्ट, लिखो, अंडरलाइन करो सुपरमैन, लिखो, he gave this idea in his book Thus Spoke Zarathustra। Thus spoke Zarathustra। जैसे इंडिया में धृतराष्ट्र था, जैसे एक कैरेक्टर है जराथुस्त्र। ठीक है, ये हो गए नीजे। ठीक, नेक्स्ट देखो, व्हाट आर द प्रोमिनेंट आइडियाज ऑफ फ्रेडरिक नीजे? व्हाट आर द प्रोमिनेंट आइडियाज ऑफ फ्रेडरिक नीजे? ठीक है, पहला लिख लो, पहला आइडिया लिखो, द गॉड इज डेड। द गॉड इज डेड। ठीक, तो बेसिकली ये क्या कह रहे हैं, इसका मीनिंग क्या है गॉड इज डेड का? कि जब से साइंस और रेशनैलिटी ये सब आई है, नोबडी टॉक्स अबाउट गॉड, एंड दैट इज व्हाई मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल आर लॉस्ट। तो आपको अगर वर्ल्ड को रीडेवलप करना है तो यू नीड न्यू काइंड ऑफ मोरालिटी। ठीक है, तो ये कहीं ना कहीं आप इनको लिंक कर सकते हो, दैट इन टुडेज टाइम वी ऑल आर लॉस्ट इन मोबाइल फोन्स एंड ऑल, हमको पता ही नहीं चलता क्या चल रहा है। तो द न्यू जनरेशन नीड्स न्यू काइंड ऑफ मोरालिटी। तो ये ऐसा ही कुछ आइडिया दे रहे हैं, द गॉड इज डेड। सेकेंड लिखो, मास्टर एंड स्लेव मेंटालिटी। मास्टर एंड स्लेव मेंटालिटी। नेक्स्ट लिखो, सुपरमैन। और लास्ट लिख लो will to power, will to power। अगर ठान लोगे तो ही कुछ कर सकते हो, ठीक है। तो रामदेव बाबा बोलते हैं करने से होगा, ये उस समय के रामदेव बाबा हैं, ठीक है। विल टू पावर, बस ये 4 आइडिया था सफिशिएंट। और लाइक नेक्स्ट, इज पीस मियरली द एब्सेंस ऑफ वॉर? वॉर नहीं है किसी सोसाइटी में तो डज इट मीन सब अच्छा है वहां पे? नहीं है। क्यों? देयर मे बी इनर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स, देयर मे बी स्ट्रक्चरल वायलेंस गोइंग ऑन इन अ सोसाइटी। जैसे कि इंडिया में अगर सब चीज वॉर नहीं है बट स्टिल वी हैव कास्ट वायलेंस, वी हैव क्लास वायलेंस एंड ऑल। तो गांधी ने बोला है, मतलब गांधी का ही एक स्टेटमेंट है दैट एब्सेंस ऑफ वॉर डज नॉट मीन्स पीस, ठीक है। एंड देयरफॉर उन्होंने क्या आइडिया दिया है फिर सोसाइटी का? इधर his society is based on what? The idea of हिंद स्वराज, ठीक है। जब तक सोसाइटी में स्वराज नहीं है इट विल नॉट एंश्योर दैट देयर इज नो इंटरनल कॉन्फ्लिक्ट। तो आपको वॉर बस नहीं है, दिस डज नॉट मीन एवरीथिंग इज गुड। गॉट इट? तो लिखो इसमें, देखो एब्सेंस ऑफ वॉर डज नॉट मीन पीस। Absence of war only does not mean peace, because there are chances, there are chances of structural violence in the society, structural violence in the society। अंडरलाइन करो स्ट्रक्चरल वायलेंस। देखो आपका एक नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन भी है, हाउ डू यू डिफाइन स्ट्रक्चरल वायलेंस, ठीक है। तो हम दोनों साथ में कर ले रहे हैं, ठीक है। अंडरलाइन करो स्ट्रक्चरल वायलेंस। लिखो दिस टर्म वाज कॉइन्ड बाय, this term was coined by Johann Galtung, Johann Galtung, structural violence, the term was coined by Johann Galtung, ठीक है। लिखो it means the presence of social structures, institutions or systems, social structure, institutions or systems which harm individuals or groups, which harms individual or groups by denying them, by denying them access to resources, opportunities and basic rights, and basic rights, ठीक। नेक्स्ट पॉइंट लिखो, लिखो while direct violence is visible, while direct violence is visible, comma, structural violence is invisible। लिखो फॉर एग्जाम्पल untouchability and other demeaning caste practices in India, untouchability and other demeaning caste practices in India, ठीक। लिखो hence Gandhi used to believe, hence Gandhi used to believe that absence of violence does not automatically mean peace in the society, absence of violence does not automatically mean peace in the society, ठीक। नेक्स्ट पॉइंट लिखो, लिखो इन इंडिया कास्ट वायलेंस, क्लास वायलेंस, ठीक है, हाँ इसी में लिखो, इन इंडिया कास्ट वायलेंस, क्लास वायलेंस एंड adverse sex ratio, adverse sex ratio are manifestations of, are manifestations of structural violence. ठीक, तो ये थर्ड क्वेश्चन भी आपका सॉल्व हो गया। आपको कहां दिखता है स्ट्रक्चरल वायलेंस इन इंडिया? when you are not given equal opportunity just because of your caste, because of your gender and all, that is somewhere down the line is structural violence, ठीक है। now next question, do you think colonialism is a form of structural violence? Explains psychological and tangible harms of colonialism। ठीक, तो क्या लगता है आपको, colonialism था structural violence का फॉर्म? बिल्कुल था। क्यों? अंग्रेजों ने इतने सालों तक, नॉट ओनली इन इंडिया, अक्रॉस द वर्ल्ड, they denied people having access to their own resources। अब इसका साइकोलॉजिकल हार्म क्या हुआ? लॉस ऑफ कॉन्फिडेंस। टिल टुडे वी लाइक ऑटोमेटिकली व्हाट इज एवरीथिंग वेस्टर्न, हमको अपने ही ऊपर भरोसा नहीं है, ठीक है। वी हैव लॉस्ट कॉन्फिडेंस, वी हैव लॉस्ट फेथ एंड ऑल। फिर इसके टेंजिबल हार्म्स क्या हुए कि मोस्ट ऑफ द कोलोनाइज्ड कंट्रीज टिल टुडे रिमेन पुअर, underdeveloped, ठीक है, and till today they are struggling to help so many people coming out of poverty। तो इनमें क्या हुआ because of colonialism? development of underdevelopment, वो हमेशा पुअर ही रह गए, ठीक है। तो इसमें लिख लो, लिखो yes, yes, colonialism is a form of structural violence ठीक है, लिखो the negative psychological effects, the negative psychological effects of colonialism were, of colonialism were, point number 1, people lost confidence and faith in their own culture, in their own culture, ठीक, लिखो for example Franz Fanon, नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन भी यही था इन्हीं का कुछ, ये देखो फ्रांस फैनन, फॉर एग्जाम्पल फ्रांस फैनन, FRANTZFANON, ठीक है, ये अल्जीरिया के थे, ठीक है। फॉर एग्जाम्पल फ्रांस फैनन इन हिज बुक ब्लैक स्किन व्हाइट मास्क, black skin white mask, talks about how black people hate their own skin and they want to copy the whites, ठीक, ये क्या हो गया? साइकोलॉजिकल हार्म हो गया। आज तक हमको हमारे ऊपर कॉन्फिडेंस नहीं है, ठीक है। सेकंड लिखो टेंजिबल हार्म, टेंजिबल हार्म, ठीक है। तो लिखो मोस्ट ऑफ द कोलोनाइज्ड कंट्रीज, most of the colonized countries till today suffer from poverty and underdevelopment, पॉवर्टी एंड अंडर डेवलपमेंट। ठीक, देखो फ्रांस फैनन इन हिज अदर बुक wretched of the earth wretched of the earth has talked about this only। wretched मतलब दरिद्र, ठीक है। तो सारे लोग जो हैं जो कोलोनाइज थे वो पुअर और दरिद्र रह गए। आज के लिए इतना ही रखते हैं, बहुत हो गया लिखने का, ठीक है। आई होप विल मीट सून, ठीक है। 16 से तो आई थिंक आई माइट बी टेकिंग योर सोसाइटी क्लासेस, बट बीच बीच में जैसे होगा तो आई विल कमिंग टू दिस, ठीक। चलिए, थैंक यू, हैव अ गुड डे।